Okay, so this is a video on how to pass paper 2 of GCSE English Language. This is normally the paper that students prepare less thoroughly for in comparison to paper 1. This is because paper 1 comes first, and I think students find paper 2 a little bit harder. There's normally 1 day or 2 days between the two papers, so that's another reason why a lot of people don't prepare as thoroughly for paper 2. So just be aware of that point and make sure you cover both papers equally, as they both count equally. Okay, so as with paper 1, we're being smart. We're starting at the back with the question that is 50% of your marks for this paper. Okay, so question 5. Remember, you're going to get stressed at some point, normally when you start the exam. That is normal. Most people feel some anxiety or even panic. Just be prepared for that happening. Just let it ride over you. Take a deep breath. Some things are going to go really well. Some things are going to go less well than expected. But remember, the pass mark is going to be between 43 and 45% most likely, or thereabouts. So you don't have to do a spectacular job to pass. You just have to do a solid job. Okay, so we're starting with question 5. 40% of your marks for this paper, 25% of your whole GCSE. Other than the quality and the substance of your answers, the timing is the crucial part of strategizing to pass these exams. So the timing is crucial. So 40-mark question, we're looking at 45 minutes maximum. I would aim for 40 minutes. Okay, aim for 40 minutes, don't go over 45. So, what is this question about? It's a question in which you have to give your opinion. Okay, could be a letter, could be an article, could be one of a number of forms of writing, but 99% of what you write is going to be paragraphed English. So we're not going to go over the format of article or letter in this one. That's relatively simple, I feel, and we're going to concentrate on what you actually put in your answer. So you've got a statement and you're basically arguing for or against the statement. So what we need to do first is break down the statement. Let's pick out things we can comment on. Okay, so this statement says, parents today are overprotective. They should let their children take part in adventurous, even risky activities to prepare them for later life. So the first thing we can talk about is whether parents are overprotective. The next thing, should they let their children take part in adventurous or risky activities? So that's the second and third thing we can discuss. Would this help parents prepare their children for later life? So that's the fourth thing. We've got 4 things we can discuss. So it seems relatively straightforward, a nice simple strategy, 4 solid paragraphs. So I've got an introduction, which does not have to be long. We've got our main section with the 4 paragraphs, and then at some point we have our conclusion. Okay, so short introduction, relatively short conclusion, the main body of your discussion around the issues. So your introduction doesn't have to be long, just something simple. There are a number of issues to discuss around this topic. Just something kind of generic, generalized opening. Perhaps you could put, as I will argue, in general, parents allowing their children some freedom does enable children to be better prepared for later life. So refer to your overall view. What is your general take going to be on this? So you've got your little subsections, but that's the main thing here. Does it prepare them for later life in this question? So make a generic statement. There are a number of issues to discuss around this topic, or this is an interesting debate and we will examine certain issues, or there are several different ideas which need to be considered when discussing this topic. Just a generic statement, and then perhaps say, as you will read, I would argue that parents should allow children to be more adventurous, or just the general thrust of your point of view on this topic. Okay? Then you're going to go to your 4 subsections. So it's really about structuring your answer. It's a good strategy, I would argue. You're going to your 4 subsections and you're going to make points on each of those. All you have to do is give your opinion in an intelligent and well-explained manner. That's all you have to do. Give your opinion and explain it. So you're likely to be using conjunctions because, although, however, as, and. You're using those so you can extend your sentences and explain your points. It doesn't really matter what you put as long as you're talking about something within this topic. And if you explain yourself, you're going to get credit for it. That's a nice, simple, basic way to approach the question. You can throw some statistics in there, so you might want to put some language features. The easiest one of all, I would suggest, is a rhetorical question. So we're talking about parenting here, and you could say, were you given freedom as a child to do what you want? Or when you became a teenager, did your parents allow you to live independently? You're asking a question. I feel that's relatively easy. You might want to put some statistics in, which may or may not be real, but by alluding to them, saying 50% of parents allow their teenagers some freedom by the time they are 15. You know, you can more or less make it up, as long as it sounds credible. But yeah, a couple of language features may be advisable. If you want to do more sophisticated ones, metaphors, similes, alliteration, that's up to you. But the main part of this question is giving your opinion and explaining it in a clear way. Okay, so you break it down, you've got your introduction, you've got your main, then your conclusion is going to be similar to your introduction, just something relatively straightforward. Having considered all these issues, it's a nice starter for a concluding section. Having considered all these issues, I would argue that it is reasonable for parents to give children of the age of 13 and above a certain amount of freedom when going about their daily lives, as this provides them with a sense of independence and confidence. You can put whatever you want. That's the whole point. You can put whatever you want if it's explained clearly. Students tend to think this is quite a difficult question, but that's all you have to do. Nice, clear explanation. As you will probably know, 40% of this is spag. So don't do any risky spellings, don't do any punctuation which you're not confident of, check your grammar, check your paragraphing. As said in previous videos, the most common mistake students make is not paragraphing and not capitalizing the word I, the pronoun I. So just be aware of those. Okay, so that's question 5. I think that's relatively straightforward. Nice, clear explanation, paragraphed. You can say whatever you want on the topic, break it down into points, do a little introduction, a little conclusion. If you don't feel able to do those well, it doesn't actually matter hugely if you explain things reasonably well. So it's just intelligent discussion. 45 minutes, and then we move on. So, as most of you will probably know, the next highest return question is question 4, 16 marks. Okay, so that's 20%. Question 5 and 4 together, 70%. If you do those well, you almost certainly will pass. So don't be panicking about questions 1 to 3. Questions 5 and 4 are your priority. So, how do we do question 4? Let's set the time first of all. So, we'd say broadly 25 minutes maximum. I would, err perhaps to 20 minutes. Something in that region is going to fit. When you start the exam, if you watched our paper 1 video, it is advisable, you start at 9 AM, to write down the time you need to finish question 5. So you're looking at the clock and you're looking for 9:45. That's when you need to move on at the latest to question 4. And of course, if we start this at 9:40, let's say, you're going to be looking at the clock. 10:05 is the latest you want to move on. So just be aware of time. Timing is the most significant thing which enables students to pass or prevents them from passing, other than the quality of their answers. So quality of your answers is the most important thing. Timing is the second most important thing. So you must, when you revise, try and time your practice answers to these questions. And in the exam, you must time it. It's absolutely crucial. Some wonderful students don't pass just because of the timing. But if you get it right, it's going to make you pass if your answers are reasonably good. So how do we answer question 4? So first thing, we have not read the document yet, because question 5, you don't need it for that. So read your question. Okay. This is arguably, I think most teachers would say, the most difficult question on GCSE English. You've got to compare 2 texts. So you're synthesizing or amalgamating information from 2 sources, which is genuinely quite difficult. How do we do it? Let's look at the statement. Okay. This one says, compare how the writers convey their different perspectives and feelings about their children growing up. So we've got texts which discuss the writers' children, how they felt they grew up. It's always going to be asking you about the writer's feelings or perspective, which means the same thing more or less. The writer's feelings about something. The writer's feelings about something. In this case, it's about their children growing up. Okay? So, what we're looking for in the document is words relating to feelings. Okay? Now, it might not say, I feel really sad or I feel angry. It's more likely to hint whether they feel happy or sad or angry. It's going to imply, and the skill is, can you draw out those meanings? Can you get the hints the writer is dropping about how they feel? So, 16 marks. We're looking at 4 nice solid PEEs. I would say 3 at the very minimum, if they're well explained. 2 is cutting it too fine. 2 isn't enough. Try and get 3, but 4 is ideal. If you're very confident, obviously you might get 5. So we're looking for 4 comments, okay, relating to the feelings of the writers about their children growing up. So we get to the text. Now, most of the text we can ignore. We're only interested in the stuff that refers to feelings, the writer's feelings. Okay, so I have a quick example from here. This paragraph here. How is he 1 already? I would suggest that feeling there is confusion. Okay, how is he 1 already? Confusion. So the writer is a little bit confused there. It doesn't say I'm confused, but it's implying it, it's hinting at it. And your job is to pull that meaning out. You're inferring the meaning. So we're looking for 4 PEEs. So we're going to try and find 4 sets of feelings. Maybe we'll find another one here, maybe happiness. Maybe a different one here, sadness. So the point is, you're going to try and circle or underline 4 sets of words which imply an assigned feeling. Okay? Don't need to do 5 or 6, we're looking for 4. We do the same in text B. Oh, this is a feeling here. He's maybe angry there. This is a feeling here. He's frustrated. Once you've got 4 things circled on each text, then you're going to start to write your answer. Okay? So, what are we doing for the answer? All we're doing is saying the texts are similar or different. So, you could write it in a number of ways. Let's say the texts are similar, or the texts are different. If you want to be a bit more precise, you could say the writer's feelings are similar, or the writer's feelings are different. So that's your point. That's your point in your PEE. The texts are similar, the texts are different, the writer's feelings are similar, the writer's feelings are different. You could say because it says, or go straight into the quote is more advisable. You don't need to say because. The texts are similar. So the first quote we came out with, how has he 1 already? So, the texts are similar. How has he 1 already? It says in text A. This indicates that the writer is confused. Okay. So we continue that point in source B. It says, let's have a look. It says, for example, I don't really understand what it is to be a parent. So we put the quote in. This also indicates that the writer is confused about being a parent. So I'm not going to write it all out. What you're basically doing, you're saying it's similar or it's different. Okay? Then you get your quote, your evidence. So evidence here or there. And then you explain why. So the texts are similar. The first quote. How is he 1 already? This shows that the writer of text A is confused about the child growing up. Then you go to source B. It says, I'm confused about being a parent. This shows that the writer is also feeling confused about being a parent and how their child is progressing. It doesn't really matter how you express it, as long as you are highlighting how the texts are similar in that quote. So you're just saying the similar or the different. So we've got 1 PEE, then we're going to do another. We're aiming for 4. I'd say 3 is manageable for a pass. 4 is ideal. 3 well-explained ones is actually fine if they're well-explained. But you're aiming for 4. If you get to 25 minutes and you've got 3, then move on. But we're looking for similarities or differences. And we've gone through and underlined the emotions. So you just match those emotions up. He's angry there. Well, he's confused there. So that's slightly similar, but not the same. This guy's happy about something here in the other text. Maybe he's happy here, so that is similar. So you're just looking for quotes that imply that the writers feel similarly or different. So as said, looking for 4 PEs. If you get to your time and you've done 3, then move on. Okay, so which question is next? I recommend doing question 2 next. Okay, why? Well, this is a question where you have to summarize. Okay, so you're reading both the texts and picking points out of them. That is quite similar to the question you just did, question 4. So that's why we suggest doing that one next. Now, question 2, the summary, 8 marks, 10% of your marks. Recommend 10 minutes, maybe 12 minutes, at the very most 15, but I would aim for 10 to 12 minutes. So what do you need to write for this question? So it's going to ask you for a summary of something specific from the text. This one is about the activities the boys enjoyed doing. So once again, you get your texts, you go through, you're looking for a specific bit of information. In this case, it's activities the boys like to do. So playing football, cutting up paper, running around, whatever it is. In this case, we can see that he's a show-off. He loves running up to people. He barks gibberish. Now, bear in mind, there will be words in the text that you don't understand. If you really can't discern what they mean, then move on. Pick some other words. He's trying to shove the noise up a hill. So, I think you can probably pull that one out in this case. So just give it a minute, see if you can get the meaning. That just basically means he's being very loud and noisy. But you're looking for a specific thing, the activities the boys liked. Obviously, your exam is going to be different, but what I'm saying is you just look for that one thing, get it circled, okay? So you're looking for 2 or 3 things from each document. 2 or 3 bits of information from both A and B. So you're going to do a paragraph on source A, then you're going to do a paragraph on source B. Okay? 2 or 3 things that it's asking for. In this case, it's the activities of the boys. So 2 or 3 things the boys liked doing when they were young, source A. The boy liked playing football and also running up to people and speaking. And this one, text source B, the child liked doing dancing or singing songs, whatever. You're looking for 2 or 3 things they like doing. Okay, now do you have to put quotes in? I advise yes, as it's just easier. You can get the document and say, yeah, the boy enjoyed running up to people. The boy enjoyed running up to people and speaking to them. So you've got the quote. You don't have to explain it anymore. You put your quote and say, he liked running up to people and talking to them. Put your quote, and that explains it. You can just write that he enjoyed running up to people and he obviously was very talkative or sociable. It's up to you if you explain it or quote. I do suggest putting the quote in as it just seems simple. Okay, so 2 or 3 things from each source, 2 nice paragraphs. Now, if you want to compare them, that is not required, but obviously it does show a slightly more sophisticated approach, and you're also answering the question. So you may say at some point, more likely in the second paragraph, because you've already written what the first boy likes to do, or the first bit of information, you might put in the second one, in source B, explain what your answer is. The boy in this case liked to do dancing, which is different from the boy in source A, as the boy in source A was not into physical activities. So you might want to put a comparison in, and I think that's a good thing to do if you can manage it, but it's not necessary, and you're not looking to spend ages on this question. You're just looking to get it done nice and simple. So 10 to 12 minutes, 15 very maximum, unless you have extra time. 2 paragraphs summarising the points it's asked for each source. Right, then we crack on to language features. So 12 marks. So language features, we're looking at 15 to 20 minutes. I wouldn't go over 20 minutes. It's 12 marks, so worth doing well, but not worth panicking about. Obviously, the previous 2 questions are 70% of your marks. So, as discussed in the paper 1 video, the easiest language features to refer to are descriptive language, which is adjectives and adverbs. Adjectives are easier for people to get their head around. You need to know that. Positive and negative language. So positive language, my son is a bright ray of sunshine, that's positive language. My son is dark in his moods, that's negative language. These 2 will definitely come up. Okay. The other 2, which are worth looking for, in my opinion, are metaphors and similes. They are likely to come up, one of them. Do you need to know all the others? Personification, alliteration, assonance, pathetic fallacy, and so on? I would argue not. You're better off spending your revision time preparing for questions 4 and 5 than learning loads of language features. This is 12 marks, so we're looking for 4 PEEs. 3 well-explained ones would be adequate. So 3 would be adequate, well explained. We're just using the PEE method to keep it simple. This is a method that works. So you're stating your language feature. There is descriptive language. Okay, that's a simple point. You could say the writer uses descriptive language effectively. You could say the writer uses descriptive language expansively or explicates his ideas well. But we don't need sophisticated language here. You just state what the language feature is. Put your quote in and then explain why that use of language is interesting for the reader. Why does it bring something out in the reader's imagination? What impact does it have? So this has an impact because it tells us about the character's appearance and helps us visualize what they look like better, or this helps set the scene for the story and helps the reader imagine what the setting is like. Just a simple explanation. The point is you focus on the simple language features. You can repeat those in your answer if you need to. If you find one of those that you recognize, you can allude to one of those. As said in the paper 1 video, you don't even have to refer to language features in their labels. You can just say the language on paper, the language on line 10 is interesting because it tells us about the character's appearance and tells us that they are not particularly rich and they are struggling for money, make sure you put your quote in. I would recommend that you do have a quote in there, but you don't have to. If you're getting stuck or you can't remember, just tell the examiner why the language is interesting. Tell them why it's interesting, express it clearly, and you will get ticks and marks for that. It's a slightly more structured way of approaching things to allude to a label of a language feature and then do a nice simple P. I think that's reasonably accessible for most students. So we're looking for 4 PEEs. I would say 3 well put together ones, well explained. Remember, your explanation is where you can go to town. You know, there's descriptive language. The child liked wearing long trousers. This has an impact because it helps the reader visualize and imagine how the child looked and what they like to wear on a daily basis. It perhaps also argues that the child felt the cold and had a sense of fashion or something. The point is you can explain it as much as you like, a nice clear explanation. So we've done all our questions except for the last question, which is obviously the least of our priorities, given it is only 4 marks. So we're looking at 5 minutes for this. So paper 2, question 1 is going to be true or false, and you're looking for the things that are true. Okay, it's slightly harder than paper 1, question 1. The thing to do with this question is just underline the piece of information you are looking for. That one is the writer's son just had his 2nd birthday. We'll look for another one here. It took a long time for the boy to eat his porridge. Okay, so you go through the source that it refers to and you're just looking for those words. Okay, so 5 minutes, you may get to 7 or 8 minutes, but you're just looking for that bit of information. Look at the marks. Bear in mind, this is not going to make or break your exam. If you get 3, you can still pass easily. In fact, if you get none, you can pass easily, because this is a 5% of your exam. So don't be panicking over this one. This is a luxury. Just underline or circle the words you're looking for, then try and find them in the text and circle the bit when you find it. So 2nd birthday. Okay. I think that's pretty accessible. As said in previous videos, I do recommend myself circling aspects of the text. It's quicker than highlighting. It's easily visible. Write on the paper. Write what you're looking for, how it relates to the answer you're going to put. Okay guys, so we've covered the whole paper. As said, start with question 5, then question 4. I recommend then doing question 2 as it's similar to question 4, then question 3, then question 1. If you can't remember that order, I would probably just go backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. But for question 5 and question 4 are 70% of your marks. If you do them well, if you do those well, you almost certainly will pass and get over the 43 to 45% pass mark. And you should be feeling confident going to the other 3 remaining questions and certainly not panicking. So try and manage your stress levels. Remember, exams never go perfectly, but you find moments where things do go well. Manage your time. You must manage your time and revise smart. So you revise so that you know what's coming, so the stress levels are lower. Concentrate on question 5 and 4, and I wish everyone the best of luck.